So here on the channel, I've covered fan games, indie games, name brand games, but one genre I felt was hardest to deal with was classic 2D side scrollers, specifically in the Sonic realm. And considering the mass amount of ROM hacks and fan games that series has, with their very different amount of engines in the mix, well, it's a bit overwhelming to cover. Or maybe I'm just overthinking, as I usually do. I really tend to do that a lot, but I decided to type on my keyboard and brainstorm what to cover in this fan game that for me came out of nowhere, but was apparently already well known for its demo that I didn't know about. So Sonic and the Fallen Star, a new full-fledged fan game released by Star.exe, and I gotta say, they did a great job pulling a Nintendo with this stealth drop. For one, they only have a YouTube channel with no playlist, no community posts, nothing in the channel tab, or even the about section. Hell, the banner isn't really much to speak on, just a one video upload of this game's release. If that isn't a flex, I don't know what is. Check them out when you get a chance. So with me taking a new style of gameplay to review/showcase, I honestly didn't know how to cover it, so I guess I'll go with the comparison route to the original 2D Sonic games and what this game did right, did the same, or maybe something that maybe even the original did a little better, just to be fair and not sound biased to fan games, especially if it can help said fan devs become a little bit better next time around. Not to make it sound like this game is bad, because it's definitely far from it. So, like every fan game, make sure you download the most up-to-date version so you don't have to deal with the jank the game had upon release. As a disclaimer, I must remind everyone that this is not an official Sonic game and should not be sold. This game is free and will always be free. The game opens up with just as bright coloring as the disclaimer message did, and the art direction just has that good neon flashy style that fits well with the classic Sonic aesthetic, as well as the music throughout the entire playthrough, in all honesty. So for this game, there's practically a cutscene after every act that I gotta give good kudos to the devs on that. So with the gameplay being the main bread and butter here, I'll break up the segments into a set of categories with a few subcategories, I guess, into the mix, something that fits more to the Sonic series. Story, mechanics, audio, graphics, and a few comparisons from the original games. And since it's my first time doing this for this genre of a game, expect some oddities here and there. I'm not perfect, you dig? So the story's premise is as such. A star has fallen as Sonic and Tails seeks out to investigate. Frankly, I wish they would have included the 3D intro the release trailer had of this game, since it adds into the knowledge that Robotnik is once again up to something, but I guess that's usually the obvious. Though Tails is a playable character in the game's story, the story remains the same between the two of each character. Each cutscene in the game has quality and has a hint of squash and stretch like Flash animation with pixel art. Crazy, right? But each of the scenes has that old classic Sonic before and after the sequel feel to it. I don't know if I was the only one that noticed that. Another thing that the cutscenes like to do is add a few callbacks to some of the official games, Sonic CDs, especially with the way that they showcase Sonic's movements and his acrobatic skills and gets all that badass glory. Meanwhile, Tails being there flying alongside the way and even helping him out at times is really refreshing to see. Way better than him cowering like a little bitch, I can definitely say that. I know Sonic Origins released recently, but to be honest, I felt more heart and appreciation for this game's moments for what feels like Sonic games and its atmospheres. And not to take a jab at whoever animated Origins cutscenes, because we know that they clearly put a lot of effort into it, but frankly, just a jab at Sega for a half-assed release containing 4 classic nostalgic old games that's been played more than enough times and in better ways than this soulless purchase. Wow. This segment sure did steer away from the story element. But anyways, the well-animated pixel art was fresh, nostalgic, and lives up to the saying, "That's how I remember seeing this game as a kid." But overall, Robotnik goes off to seek out the fallen stars and even pulling a Sonic Heroes fake out to trick Sonic and Tails. So as soon as it seems to be all bad, all doom and gloom, the star shatters and splits up into 5 different pieces and goes to 5 different areas to explore. Now for the mechanics of the game. For Sonic, he plays just like he did in Mania, with the drop dash making a return, and Tails playing as he always has since Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And nope, Knuckles isn't playable in this game, sadly. He's not even involved with the story, so I guess it kind of makes sense for him not to be playable, though I wish he was, just for the heck of it. So for the most part of the game, it's just the usual classic Sonic gameplay, but with a game being over an hour with the mentioned cutscenes earlier, it's yet again another new Sonic experience to play. Some new returning features being that of the elemental shields, fire, electric, and bubble, though this time they're different than the circle balls we remember. As for bubble shield, it's actually a square this time, but works the same nonetheless. But with fire shield, it's more akin to Sonic Force's Fire Wisp, which works well here. So instead of a fiery air dash like it did for S3K, and since the double jump for the electric shield is made obsolete because of the fire shield, the electric shield just makes Sonic go down, I guess. I feel like they should have made it an air dash and homing attack hybrid, since most of the enemies Sonic usually faces off is metallic. It would have been better and a neat attention to detail as well, but that's just me. But as expected, Tails can't use none of these shield abilities since his jump button is reserved for his flight. I never understood that in the original games, to be honest. Man, even Sega back then only wanted Sonic to be the main focus. On my first playthrough, I didn't know how the special stages were going to be handled. I tried my best to collect 50 rings and hit a checkpoint, but to my surprise, I ran into a special stage ring instead by complete accident. But as I mentioned earlier, make sure you have the game to the most up-to-date version. Otherwise, you're going to have to deal with outdated special stages, and you're definitely going to have a bad time. Hit the thingy. What do you... But the special stages are an auto runner that consists of the same path with blue spheres that increase your speed and rings that increase the time you have as you finish the required laps. Also, QTEs are added into later stages and they were pretty nice to pull off. Granted, you should definitely make sure the game is up to date, otherwise you will be failing at those QTEs. Hello? Hello? Like, did I not hit the loop though? Also, before I end off with this category, Sonic has Super Peel Out. Can't believe I forgot to mention it when I love that added feature to any of the classic versions of Sonic games. But as far as these gameplay additions, new and old, it works with the game's flow, and it overall just complements the rest of how the game comes together as one. Now for the sounds of the game. For the music of the game, you can go to Holly's YouTube channel for the game's OST, but if you want to download the tunes yourself, there are 2 links on the website to download the game in both FLAC and MP3 formats. And here's the difference between what FLAC and MP3s are, for those that always wondered but never looked it up. Yeah. See, I'm relatable. But for the music of this game, I can say it goes hand in hand with the level's length. Unless you're speedrunning the game to the point you remember every ins and outs, you will definitely hit the game's music loop. Though it'd be unknowingly so, but it still shows the effort put into each individual level, and since most tracks are at the very least 2 minutes, but around 4 minutes at max, the music provided in this game was a great listening to while zooming through the levels. Also in the credits, there's credits to Nintendo and Capcom for some sound effects, so if you want to know what those are, it would behoove you to try this game out if you can and find out for yourselves. But pretty much the music is awesome and felt every moment as a one-to-one match for the level sound effects and for all. And I can definitely say that they were all...
It's truly amazing!
So for the graphical beauty this game bleeds into it, this is a big notable highlight for it. Let's just look at the disclaimer tab again. Now the main menu, the option screen, the adventure screen, now the gameplay. Everything here, everything that gives the player a visual of the game is an artful masterpiece of pixels that not only look great, but match the artwork, match the music, as well as the original artwork for what Sonic was. And knowing that effort and knowing how much work was put into this game was like the greatest part about playing this fan game. From the details of each boss having unique details, shades for the first boss who goes fast, so therefore he needs shades to not, I guess, get dust in his eyes or something, Sonic and Tails finishing poses, Eggman's shade showing shock when he's hit, and the overall art direction in general for each level. At times it did feel a little too colorful, considering, you know, it's kind of like hard to see some enemies and some of them can actually like snipe you. Maybe you might get blindsided, but at least for me, it was never too much that you could never see Sonic or Tails, the characters you need to see to control. Meanwhile, the rest of the world you speed through or fly through felt huge when compared to the two playable characters, especially when you get to the city area. Whether on land or grinding on rails, it made me understand that the world was that huge, but in reality, it was always this huge size. Heck, look at the 3D games. Sure, not as colorful as this game, but expansive enough to be its own unique style that if need be, Sega could pull this off as something new if they wanted to branch out in a new art direction. I will say though, I feel like the game could benefit more if the camera was zoomed out just a tad bit. Seeing visuals like these and the many biomes and environments is a beauty to witness, and I just feel like being locked to this small screen or this small zoomed in layout, I don't know how to necessarily describe it. It just feels like you should be able to see a lot more than what we were originally given, especially if for the most part Tails is going to be the only character that's going to be able to see what's up high. Meanwhile, Sonic is viewing everything from down low. Now, with everything said, how does this hold a candle to official games? Well, pretty damn good. The handling of the references and callbacks not being too much, and since the game is original enough to add some fan service here and there, it was welcoming. And not like adding Green Hill in for like the 100th time or something. The inspirations do show themselves though, but not in a way that's bad or copy and pasted, but something more along the lines of revisiting familiar areas but with different placements and completely new feel to it. The only gripe I had with the game compared to all classic games were how many missing enemies it felt that weren't present. At times it'd feel like 30 seconds would pass and no more than one enemy would appear, which made this bright, vast, and colorful world feel a little empty on the inside. But as I had mentioned before about Sonic before and after the sequel, if my bad memory serves me right, I remember that game having that same issue, but for that time that fan game was made, it was more understandable. It was early. Not that I'm saying throw a whole bunch of enemies in the game, but with the variety of the enemies that are present in the game, it just feels criminal to have them be underutilized. But I started to come to accept it, considering each act having its own boss fight, which was already impressive in itself, and with the design of them, it must have took some of the smaller enemies' glory out of the equation. And considering, you know, you're adding a boss every stage, of course that's going to have to add in a whole bunch of tweaking and troubleshooting on getting their attack patterns to work versus smaller enemies where it's like, oh, we forgot, sorry, but enjoy this vast world. But still, when you look back and play the original games, you will at least find multiple enemies like every few seconds, and not in an annoying way, but in a way where it's like, well, that's the purpose of Eggman/Robotnik, to create an egg empire with all robots. But in conclusion, Sonic and the Fallen Star was a random full game I just found out one day, decided to play it considering its random, unknowingly random release, and with no info about it. It was an unexpected fan game that I was glad to play, and without many downsides into it, besides a few nitpicks. If you haven't played this, you really should. Probably has some improvements needed that maybe I haven't seen, but for the most part, I liked everything it provided. And for that, I can say this level of quality is what should have been expected out of Sonic Origins, especially for that weird EA price mapping. Like, what was up with that? Like, why do people accept stuff like that? But yeah, this being my first time covering on a true 2D side scroller might age a little poorly since it's something new showcased. Hell, even somewhere in my script I had to like tweak something because it really didn't sound right. I don't know what it was I was thinking a month ago when I made it, and don't know why I didn't tweak it after making a revision. Nonetheless, I hope you liked the video showcasing this fan game and what the topic was about. Here's the team. I'll link their stuff in the description below, and if any of them somehow sees this, you all did outstanding, and thank you for making this. As for everyone else watching, Merry Christmas or something. I don't know. Fun is infinite. Peace out. So here on the channel, I've covered. So here on the channel, so here, God damn it, I'm so fucking rusty. Oh my gosh. Now, with that being known, the game opens up with just as bright coloring as the wow, tongue twister, as the disclaimer message did. Oh, okay. Wow, tongue twister. Oh, I'm not doing real good. I should have really tweaked this script. But then again, it's 2D, so yeah. I mean, yeah, it's 2D Sonic. It's kind of like not too much to talk about, but at the same time, there's a lot. But don't beat yourself up.